Bienvenidos nuevamente a su podcast La Plática. Por primera vez en este podcast estaremos ahora haciéndolo en inglés porque tenemos un invitado especial con quien estaremos hablando de cosas muy importantes para pequeños negocios, para fundaciones, para organizaciones sin fines de lucro. Le damos paso a nuestros patrocinadores y luego hacemos la presentación oficial. Gracias a nuestros patrocinadores, Liga de Justicia, en caso de lesiones laborales, accidentes de bicicleta, resbalón y caída, por favor llame al 1-800-355-1234. Liga de Justicia, tus abogados. Welcome again. So we're here at your podcast La Plática, and for the first time, Jennifer, we're going to be conducting this podcast in English.
Nice.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Well, thank you, Luis, and welcome everyone to podcast La Plática. Y welcome our guests. Like you said, for the first time, we're doing this episode in English. So I apologize for the people who do not understand, but we were going to try to do a translation if we can. And in the meantime, this is really important information, but we have Marcos here who's going to be talking a little bit more of different services that he offers for small businesses. And Luis, you take it from there.
Absolutely. We're very honored to have Marcos Maldonado, who is the president and CEO of Grand Gurus, who's going to be talking a little bit about what his company does and how that benefits small businesses, nonprofits, foundations, and many more other stakeholders. So, Marcos, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Luis and Jennifer, and thank you to your listeners for welcoming me as the first person to be able to, do a podcast with you in English. I hope we can really go over some fantastic information for your viewers and or your listeners rather, and be able to help them in navigating this world of grants that I'm sure everybody is hearing about.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Marco. So if you want to start, let's get started with the basics, right? What does Grand Guru is? What is it that you do?
Absolutely. So Grand Gurus is a consulting firm that specializes specifically in raising funds for either for-profit businesses or nonprofit organizations. We were founded in 2023 after a career that I've had spanning more than 20 years in fundraising and specifically 15 years in grant writing, raising tens of millions of dollars for companies and nonprofit organizations alike. So what we do very simply is we find opportunities for either businesses or nonprofit organizations to either get money, receive money from a grant or do a contract from a government agency. We help them apply for those applications and go through all of the different requirements. And then we follow up with on their behalf when necessary to get those results. And when they do win, we can assist them in following up and following through with the grant requirements or the contracting requirements. So we've been very successful, particularly in 2024 alone. We raised over $4.5 million in spanning a variety of different causes. Again, we were able to help small businesses and nonprofit organizations alike. This year in 2025, we have been awarded over $4 million already just through the beginning of February, and it's looking to be a very successful year for our clients.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Marcos, tell us a little bit, how did you get into this, into the, grant writing development type of job, right? It's maybe a little bit about your background. How do you get here?
Sure. I will tell you that I am born and raised in Brentwood, New York. I've lived there my entire life. My mom still lives in Brentwood. A lot of my family still lives in Brentwood. And I had a unique opportunity to go to a phenomenal university in Rochester, New York, Rochester Institute of Technology. And one of the main reasons why I was able to go to that university was because I received a great financial aid package. So really from the moment I started school, my father always told me, money doesn't grow on trees. Somebody has to work for it to get it there. So I actually went to seek out how those scholarships I got were funded, and that's how I landed in my first fundraising job. It was my freshman year of college, and I never looked back. I actually went from being a student caller in that department to running that department as a professional. So the university hired me 6 months before I even graduated to run that department, and handed me over the keys once I walked across the stage.
Yes. Fantastic. So, okay. And that basically, so what did it entail, Marcos, basically raising money for a university back then?
Yeah, so a variety of different things, but two main components that I specifically worked in were running the department that made phone calls to alumni and asked them for money. You would get a phone call from your university, and they would ask you to make a donation. I ran that department for Rochester Institute of Technology. And then also, while I was working at Stony Brook University, I was one of their what they call development officers, who was responsible for what they call leadership gifts, so higher end gifts from alumni that can help fund scholarships outright or other initiatives that the university was undertaking. And then, as I mentioned previously, about 15 years ago, I really started getting into grant writing, being able to support people and families here back in Brentwood, Central Islip, and Bayshore.
Very good. So, and I know that people hear the word grants, right? And they hear the word, RFPs, and that, it's sometimes it doesn't mean anything to people, right? Because
no, it doesn't.
What is it, right? But, clearly we see many of the direct benefits in the communities that, we work in. Yes. So maybe, Marcos, is good for people to get to know what's a grant, how does it basically, and obviously it's a pretty wide variety of grants, right, and sources of funding. So maybe if we can just start with, let's say, a grant for communities, that have been disadvantaged for the longest.
Sure. Let's say this. Let's start off like this. Mm-hmm. What is a grant?
Right.
A grant is a sum of money or some type of item, tangible, right, that you can see, feel, or somehow quantify that will support the person who receives it in their pursuit for what we call a better outcome. So, for instance, let's say, Luis, you own a storefront, right, on Main Street, and that store sells clothing. Could sell anything, right? But in order to make your business more attractive, you may want to improve the front of that business, right? The facade. Okay, for businesses, a grant in this example would be money to help you improve that facade that you would not have to pay back. And the reason why grants are given, because somebody may ask, well, why does somebody want to give me money? Right? Nobody wants to give me anything without there being some type of string attached. Well, government agencies and quasi-government organizations like your national, your power company, your electric company, right, and your local government are tasked with using using tax dollars and other funding that they receive to help support the people who are within their jurisdiction. And in that reasoning right there, you have the formation of grants from these types of agencies. That's one type of grant. So again, it's important to note that when you receive a grant, it is money that you do not have to pay back. Okay? Now, I want to just mention briefly about the term RFP, or request for proposal. Governments like to contract or do business with small businesses and businesses of any size, really, to provide a variety of different services. So, for instance, a government, hospital, or some type of government agency may want to advertise a set of services in a particular language or to a particular population. Instead of hiring an entire marketing team to do one specific outreach, they may want to contract with an established marketing firm that has the tools and resources necessary to get that work done. In that example, the government is looking for someone who is already established so that they can achieve their goal of getting, reaching the type of people that they want to reach. So to summarize, and I know I kind of said a lot there, grants, money you do not have to pay back. In the example that we're talking about, given by governments and other quasi-governmental agencies. Contracts, RFPs, are contracts to do business with the government. So you will have to provide a service for the government in exchange for the dollars.
Since you mentioned RFPs and also the grants, there's a variety of RFPs and a variety of grants out there, like Louis mentioned before. However, how do you qualify that either a small business or an organization is actually qualified to obtain the grant or to participate in the bidding for the RFP?
That's Jennifer, that's one of the most important things that you have to look at, right? Or ask yourself, am I qualified for this? And I think thankfully the answer is you could be, right? And the reason why I say you could be is because a lot of different agencies offer grants. And one of the great things about, our country or, in this sense is that you're entitled to set programs the way you choose. So a quasi-governmental agency or a governmental agency may choose to want to provide grants for a business that's only been open for a year or less. And they may call that type of grant a startup business grant, right? And it is to give, startup businesses an opportunity to receive capital to move forward. Very basic example, okay? Yet, there may be other types of grants available for businesses that are more mature. And what do I mean by more mature? You've been open for a longer period of time. You have more experience, but you need a larger sum of money in order to make a bigger change in your business. One of the reasons why grants that are available that offer larger sums of money are typically reserved for mature businesses is because as a mature business, you have demonstrated that you can properly budget large sums of money, that you have accounting that can support proper budgeting, and otherwise give your funder peace of mind, if you will, that you will use that money and be able to make it effective for your business.
But what about for small businesses specifically? Because there's so many businesses out there that they may not think they qualified, or they're like too new in the system. They are not ready for an application for either an RFP or a grant. So how do you help those small businesses as well?
Yeah, well, I think we have to find, there's a saying, right? You must crawl before you can walk. And I really believe that in the grant writing and government contracting space. So when we work with new or small businesses, really small businesses, we look at who you are as a business. And we find the things that can connect you to grants that you feel strongly about, that yes, I do qualify as that. So I'm in the same boat as everyone else. So you've been seeing a lot of grants lately that have been directed towards women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, right? Those grants are great, not because you have 10,000 people applying for them, but because they provide you access into the world of grants for that very first time. When you qualify absolutely, we're able to show you what the grant is asking for. We can have a discussion about what your business is doing. Right. And then we can put that on paper and really tell a nice story for you. You may come to find out that you are innovating in your space, right? You're doing something new and exciting in your business that no one else is doing. But that story hasn't come out because we hadn't found a way to connect you to this process. So the first thing that we do at Grant Gurus is find a way to connect you to the process. Whether it's you're female, you're a minority, your business is new, your business, it could be anyone, your business is from a certain area on Long Island or in New York, or, even for your listeners who might be out of state, in their respective state.
Great.
So, Marcos, tell us a little bit about, give us, without obviously, all the restrictions that we have to talk about, clients, right? Give us just, a brief example of, let's say, a grant and then an RFP.
Yeah, I'll tell, and we don't have to go too far back.
Right.
I'll tell you just this past October, okay? If I don't know what percentage of your listeners are located right here on Long Island, but I will tell you right now, if you have an elementary school student going to after school programs in the districts of Brentwood, Bay Shore, and Central Islip, that they are going for free because of a grant that we received for a nonprofit client that provides that programming in the area. So that grant was was $3 million, and the organization was the only organization on Long Island to win multiple grants.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. And so what did it entail? What was the work that you did for that particular grant, Marcos?
So abstractly, we told their story. Right? We told the story of what it is to provide services to a population that has a hard-working population base, right? People who are going to work every single day and who need services in order for them to freely be able to work and provide for their families. We know the cost of living here on Long Island has went up, over the past generation and certainly over the past 5 years. Daycare services and childcare services are amongst the most expensive part of that entire equation for parents. So we came up with an initiative to address care for parents during the critical hours of 3:30 to 6:30. And that's how we told that story, right? So again, it's connecting your client with what the funding is actually looking for. And what that funding was looking for was a safe place for youth 12 years in age and younger during the hours of 3 and 6. Well, 3:30 and 6:30.
Fantastic. So, and so that's obviously on the grant side of things, right? So, what about the RFP side of things? I know that you work a lot on the renewable energy field and everything. So maybe that's something that some businesses that don't even know that may be a benefit to them that can actually apply for.
So I will tell you that we have done something very significant for a small business in the Bronx, okay? And that small business is the first small business in the entire borough to be an owner and operator of an electric vehicle charging hub. The first in the entire borough, the first for and is the first for Con Edison. So it's a very significant win for a small business that was quite frankly looking to get into the game that the big boys like Tesla and let me not say too many of those names, but that the big companies are really invested in. And we did that by being able to look at the application and use our insight for applying and leading someone through developing and responding to questions to be able to secure a 100% incentive for DCFC fast chargers for this guy's project. So not only did he, not only is he the first small business owner of an electric vehicle charging hub, he received a 100% incentive for that project.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Great for him.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we do a lot for small businesses, and small businesses, medium businesses, large corporate businesses. I'll tell you, several years ago, I was responsible for bringing the first electric school buses on the road every day in New York State. And it wasn't a fluke. We did it a second time, and we did it a third time and a fourth time after that. So we've been able it doesn't matter if the client is huge or if the client is a Main Street, someone on Main Street. I'll tell you just really briefly, wonderful company based out of Center Reach. Last year had, an at-home bakery business. We were able to get that person free delivery of their food for a year and an interview on 1010 Wins.
Fantastic.
You know, so again, telling their story.
Right, tell their story.
So anyone who has a story to tell about their business, anyone who wants to contract with the government, we're telling the government how your business can provide these services the best way possible.
I know Jennifer likes to say that, companies don't sell products, they sell stories, right?
That's exactly what it is. But one thing that we need to kind of focus in here is let's be honest, grants and RFPs, they written in a different language. So we really need Marcos when it comes to it.
That's right. Marcos, if you don't mind, can you provide our viewers your information so that in case that they want to contact you and everything?
Absolutely. So there's a number of ways to reach me. We certainly have our website, which is www.grant-gurus.com. That's www.grant-gurus.com. You can also reach us by phone, anytime at 631-647-0092. That's 631-647-0092. We have our socials, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Come check us out there. And, of course, if you want to just send us an email, feel free to reach out to us at clientsupport@thegrantgurus.com. That is clientsupport@thegrantgurus.com.
Fantastic.
There you have it. So reach out to Marcos to help write in another language, right? Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Marcos, for participating in our podcast today. And thank you for our viewers and listeners. And I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I promise your viewers I am bilingual in the language of grants and RFP.
He definitely is. I've been working with him so far. So yes.
Thank you, Marcos.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Take care.